All right, welcome to a special edition of the Illegal Curve. I don't know, it's not the hockey show, but an Illegal Curve chat with newly signed Jeff Malott, who played for both the Manitoba Moose and made his NHL debut with the Winnipeg Jets. So, Jeff, how you doing? How you feeling right now in August?
Good, feeling good, enjoying the summer. Just skating lots, staying in the gym, and then relaxing when I can, and kind of getting excited to ramp things up for camp here.
Well, now that the season's been over for a little bit, what are some of your reflections on your second season as a pro?
Yeah, I think definitely the length of the season is one thing. With that first COVID year, it was only about 36 games, so that was kind of a new obstacle introduced to me. I'm used to the college season, and I think it was a pretty smooth adjustment into a 70 game or 68 game season. But yeah, that was kind of one thing I wanted to focus on through the summer, is kind of get ready for a long season ahead. And then it's been tough, like sitting at home watching playoffs. It's like you want to make your opportunities count. So I think going into next year, we'll have a lot of guys, with that playoff experience now, and kind of know how quickly it can be over. And I think we'll have a lot of guys really motivated.
I didn't think after the COVID year that we'd be able to talk about a uniqueness of a group again, but really you guys kind of continue that into last season. So, and I know like when we talked to you and some of the other guys during the exit interviews, or the end of season media availability, I should say, the guys were going to the cabin in Ontario. You guys were all sticking together as a group. And even, for the 48 hours after that game 5 against Milwaukee, you guys were all still hanging out and being together. I mean, it's one thing I don't really want to get lost in the season being over, is that uniqueness and how close this group was. And it seems like you might have an opportunity, depending obviously where you're playing, but to run it back a lot with a lot of these guys who you see now signing here with the Moose, in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean that's something that's really exciting. It's like leading up to last year, we were kind of having the same conversations where we're like, a lot of these key components, a lot of these these leaders and these guys that contribute to our locker room environment, they're coming back, and I think we're kind of realizing the same thing going into next year, is that it's basically a big chunk of that same group, and with one more year of experience under our belts. So I think a lot of our focus is going to be on continuing to build on those aspects and continuing to kind of develop as a group. And I think the more time we spend together, the closer we get and the more we learn. And I think it's a great opportunity.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention your shootout goal that went viral, the game winner. And sometimes that can be a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't know. It seemed like you guys had fun with it. You embraced it. You guys obviously made a commercial, which I still have folks, reaching out to me who say that was hilarious and that you guys did that. So what was it like, obviously in the moment, and then after the fact, kind of embracing that, it's going on like Barstool. Everybody's playing it. Everybody's focused on it. Bar Down had it here, in the States, they were covering it. So what was that moment like for you?
Yeah, we were just kind of laughing. Like when everyone came off, guys were like more so making fun of me for ever doing something like that. And then I was just kind of laughing at myself with them. Like we were all just kind of, we were just happy we won. And we were just kind of like at that point goofing around. And then it started to kind of roll in, and we're like in the cold tubs, and we're kind of doing our treatment and stuff. And we just kind of started like laughing even more about it, because nobody really thought anyone would care about it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's funny, like I'll see guys in the summer for the first time, and that's, the first thing they bring up is kind of just that, like how funny that was or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's weird, because like no one ever meant for it to get like that. We just kind of thought it would be a funny joke, inside the locker room. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny.
There's a lot of, you guys had a lot of fun because you guys were such a close group, but obviously there's, it's not just about fun in games. You want to win those games, and you guys had your kind of the first taste of pro hockey playoffs. So what did you learn now that you've had some time to reflect on the 5 games against Milwaukee, especially going, having your back up against the wall and having to try and, fight to see if you could continue your playoff lives?
Yeah. I mean, one of the big takeaways is like those first 2 games where we just felt like we were kind of outperforming for the majority of the night. It felt like we had, the majority of control and the chances, and things just weren't going in. I think one thing a lot of us took away was just kind of continuing to, have your foot on the gas. Don't try and change too much when things are going well. And then, just realize that with volume, those chances will start to go in. Then at the same time, getting to that game 5, I think with those 4 games leading up to game 5, I think a lot of us thought we were, unanimously the better team. And I think maybe that 5th game, we just thought if we would play the same game, we come out with, a favorable result. But, really Milwaukee made a lot of adjustments, and they came out with, a different, a different gear that we hadn't seen that series yet. And I think one big thing moving forward is just going to be, any team in the playoffs can win on any given night, and it's going to be a league full of solid teams. So especially in those game 5s, game 7s, those elimination games, you really got to show up.
And, from your perspective, how awesome is that, right? Obviously you would have preferred to win that game, move into the next round, try and play Chicago. That would have been a great series as well. But just the growth opportunity for you as a young player, because that's what, head coach Mark Morrison talked about, was that how important it was. He said 2 rounds, but, even from the 1 round that you guys experienced, especially kind of in the manner that you experienced it, you'll be able to benefit from that moving forward into the regular season and obviously into playoffs, whether that's at the NHL level or at the AHL level.
Yeah. There's just such an intensity in playoffs, and there's so much at stake every given night. A 5-game series can swing like that, right? Like, it's really not a lot of room for error. So when you're looking at, the opportunity given in terms of, potential 5-on-4 scenarios, or, late game closing a game out, or trying to come back, there's just so many different scenarios that have so much at stake and require that much more focus and that much more, attention to detail. And I think having that approach, at the end of the season last year, and kind of that being the freshest, hockey in our minds, I think that's something that's definitely going to have a pretty big impact, moving forward to next year right out of the gate.
And I know they often say you can't continue what you started or what you ended with. So, the season ended with the loss in game 5. Is it possible to bring that forward? Obviously you have that muscle memory, what it takes to win in the playoffs. You've learned. So can it continue into the regular season, or is it more so you have that mentality for when playoffs come about next time?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Like, I think it would be hard to play, 70 games with that do or die playoff mentality. And I think that might, that might take away from some other things we want to develop on if we were, just so tense every game, trying to, with a do or die mentality. But as soon as the playoffs come around, like, that's kind of a gear you want to have access to as well. So, maybe that's just something that we were reminded of throughout the year. And then when playoffs do come around, we add that mentality to the systematic and the, just the developmental approach that we've had for the entirety of the season.
Well, we have to, of course, mention your NHL debut now that you've had some time to reflect on that. What has that meant to you? And have you had any more, like I said, because it's hard, even when you're ahead of it, you're obviously, there's the nerves. Then afterwards, you're still kind of like in the season. So it's hard to really be able to reflect and enjoy it. But now that you've had some time, in the summer, what have your thoughts been about, making your debut in such a historic building like in Chicago?
Yeah, it was definitely a cool, very, very cool building to play my first NHL game in. And, throughout the day leading up to it, that's all anybody ever said is, oh man, that anthem in Chicago. Just the energy that the fans bring. I was really, really fortunate. And looking back on it, I'm glad my family was there. I'm glad I got to enjoy that with my family and my girlfriend, and having all the guys I knew the Moose were watching back in, I think they were in Rockford, and I think those guys were, maybe it was Iowa. They finished up that game in Iowa, and they were able to catch some of it. So, there was a lot of, overwhelming support from a lot of different, systems. But, it was just a really, really special night that, I'd been thinking about and hoping for a while and working towards for a while. And if anything, it just kind of, makes you want more.
Yeah, and that's what we've talked about with a lot of guys who, a lot of your Moose teammates were fortunate this year, right? Because a lot of guys made debuts and a lot of guys spoke to that. It's a great first step, but it doesn't end it, right? Like, you've got that hunger for more but it's a good thing, right? It's good to be able to get it out of the way. You have that debut done, and now you can just focus on making, getting your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth game. But, did you hear from a lot of friends and family around that time and subsequent to that, like now in summer, do people still talk to you about it? Or is it kind of like, people leave you alone to just kind of train and focus on next season?
Yeah, no, it's cool. Like there's family members and extended friends and that I haven't seen yet since that night. So yeah, got people are happy to excited to kind of express their happiness and kind of me achieving that goal. But yeah, people are like, a lot of friends and family were great reaching out when it happened, and then even when I catch them for the first time in the summer, they're still they still express that happiness for me. So that's it's great. Like it makes me again just like want to continue achieving goals and continue hitting kind of milestones and developing.
Jeff, are you the kind of guy who keeps mementos? So do you keep your, like, would you get the chance to keep that jersey or a stick or a puck from that game? Like, I don't know. So I'm just curious, like, are you the kind of guy who does that sort of thing?
Yeah. Like, guys will make fun of me or like, just like if they ever, see my room, but like I got like a dresser that's just like, I'm sure like most guys, like I got a dresser that's just like, a puck or a whatever, or something. It's some lame trophy from like, a decade ago that I should probably just throw out by now. But no, it's cool. There's I got a big dresser with a bunch of stuff from school, and it kind of just all accumulates there. But I was lucky enough. One of the refs threw me a game puck and kind of said congrats, and so that was cool. And then was able to get the jersey from the game too. So that's something I might frame up. But yeah, it's cool to kind of have those mementos, just kind of to remember everything, because it can kind of easily get washed away while you're just worried about the next game, or you're kind of still caught up in it. So yeah, it's definitely cool to have those for when everything's all wrapped up and I'll be able to look back.
Well, while you're on this journey, it's not, you don't get there by yourself. Of course, the family is so integral to a player's success or a person's success, and that doesn't really matter in what facet of life. But in hockey, we know how much parents sacrifice for their kids, not necessarily just in hockey. And that's going to be my next point: was how cool was it for your family to be able to see you make your NHL debut, and then I believe 3 weeks later, your younger brother Mike made his UFC debut. And I know we've talked about it, but it's still a pretty neat achievement, right? Like it's not every day you have two kids in professional sports have that opportunity to one make his NHL debut and another to make his UFC debut.
Yeah. I mean, I think Mike would kill me if I didn't correct that. He's 5 years older than me. So, but people,
I don't know why I said younger.
No, people joke that because whenever I show up with him to a gym or something, they're always like, "Oh, Mike, it's your big little brother," like, because I got a little more size on him. But
maybe that's what it is.
Oh man, it was so cool. Like when I found out, like we'd signed big milestone contracts within a couple weeks of each other. I committed to school the same week he committed to a big professional MMA organization, and we've just had so many of these milestones along the way that have kind of paralleled each other in the timeline, and he's just like, he's one of my best friends. I spend all summer with. I've been lucky enough to spend all summer with him so far, and it's not something we always have. He's been down in California for so many years, and it's great having another person who's so invested in athletics and personal development, because I just constantly have a support system that I can bounce ideas off of, where we can kind of just feel things out together. And there's always a lot of advice that he's able to provide, and I think, I mean, I know personally for myself, watching him reach that milestone and watching that fight and watching him win his debut, like I've said this a couple times, that watching him win that fight might have been the happiest I've ever been in my life. Like there's just so much love for the guy, and I think our whole family, really shares that support, and I'm lucky to receive that support from my family as well. And it's, something that makes these achievements and these, accomplishments that much better when you get to be able to share them with this support system that's been there the entirety of the way.
Jeff, is there any, I guess, benefits to training with him if you get a chance to do that? Like something that maybe, traditionally, I know you generally would work out with other hockey guys, and we were talking before, you might work out with Cole Perfetti, or you might work out with guys who, you gain tips on the ice for. But in terms of training, is there any benefits to working out with, a UFC fighter who, I'm not suggesting you're learning grappling techniques from him, but I'm sure you were especially because you're the younger brother, you're probably the victim of a few of those. But is there a benefit that you've realized training with someone like that? Or is it more just the benefit of just being with, like you said, a dedicated athlete?
Yeah, I mean, there's benefits like kind of all over the map, and having him home for the summer, like even when he was in California, he was always a support system. If either of us had to vent something out, or kind of if we were working through something, or it's usually the first call when you have a big update. And on the flip side, when he is home, it is just a great resource. He is just a great resource to have, because I can go into the gym and box with them or whatever, get a good workout with them. And kind of even yesterday we were kind of talking about how hockey workouts and force velocity curves might apply to MMA, and how that might impact his training and stuff. And we're just kind of like, we're always there kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. And when we do get to go in and either work out together or do some other types of cross training, it's a great workout, but at the same time, it's just an excuse to hang out for another hour. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Jeff. And one of the things you just talked about, major milestones. So I imagine one of the first calls you made recently was to him when you signed your big 2-year deal with the Winnipeg Jets. So what did that mean to you to get another contract at the NHL level with the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, it's great. Like just even having the security of it being a multi-year deal, and kind of not having to go, year by year. And I think I've, been I've benefited a lot from the development that I've, been fortunate enough to receive from the organization. Like there's been a lot of investment from staff, and in the video room, or in the gym, or from development coaches. Like there's just been a lot of investment, and I've been really really fortunate to be on the positive end of that. And yeah, I mean, it's exciting to be in the organization for at least 2 more years, because I've benefited so much from the people within.
So what was that process like for you? I mean, are you involved? Do you get involved in the nitty gritty? Do you leave it to your agent? How invested are you in the process, or do you just simply say, where do I sign?
Yeah, mostly where do I sign? I'm lucky enough to have great representation, and I think it was a pretty easy negotiation. And I think I'm really happy with the deal, and I'm really excited for 2 more years in Winnipeg and Manitoba. And yeah, it's some good news in the summer, but it's really just kind of the beginning. It's just start from scratch in September, and try to make the most of what that contract has to offer.
So, I mean, I guess you probably answered this, but I'll ask it anyways. Essentially, there's no real discussion in terms of like what your role is going to be. It's simply just your agent says, hey, we got a 2-year offer from the Jets. You say, yeah, I'm down, and then you sign it, and then you'll try and figure that out in training camp.
Yeah, I think on my end, it was pretty much just, hey, we have a deal. And I was really excited. So I didn't need much convincing, and it just kind of worked out pretty quickly.
Okay, so from your exit interviews with the Moose, what were the things that they kind of gave you? You don't tell me all of it, but if there were any areas of focus they wanted you to work on.
Yeah, I mean, I think with a big frame like myself, and somebody who kind of has success forechecking and around the net, it was just kind of reinforcing those things that make me effective, and then adding an element of speed to the game. And I think I'm a player that has some good straightaway speed, but I think adding more dynamic footwork, or adding more in tight speed or acceleration is something that you can never get enough of. So it was a lot of continue on working on soft skills around the net, and kind of build up a mentality of physicality and intensity, and then work on that speed. And those have kind of been my main focus points for the summer so far.
Jeff, one of the things we talk about how tight this group is, but adding a guy like Morgan Barron, obviously someone you were very close with in college, adding him in the middle part of the season, now he gets to be part of the group from the outset. So how exciting is that for you to have that connection and bring him in and make him, a bigger part of the group than he already was.
Yeah, I mean, Morg's fit in so well right out of the gate, like on the ice and off the ice. He's just a guy that, he's got such great character, and he's got, just such great attitude. Like he comes in and he's ready to work every day, and he's committed to, getting better every day. And it worked so well with our group in Manitoba because, there was kind of this buzz about, playoffs coming around, and not a lot of guys had been, exposed to any playoff series yet. And Morgs was just as excited. And then, he went up and played with the Jets for about a month there and did extremely well. And he brought that confidence back down with us for the playoffs. And the guy was on fire. Like anytime we needed a big goal, he was there for us. And I mean, just having that confidence in him in the locker room, it's contagious. And you never get too stressed out when you have a guy like that who comes up with those timely goals.
And that's one of the things we talk about, right? Is how much you can develop from the playoffs. And he, like you said, he's 4 straight games with a goal for the Moose when you guys needed timely goals or not. He was there. He was able to deliver. So is that one of the things that folks in, Manitoba and the Jets are going to be excited about with a player like Morgan Barron, because he really does seem to be able to look like he's about to take his game to that next level.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's a big frame. He thinks the game so well. His shot is so lethal. He's great at picking his spots at shooting, and he works his tail off. So, I mean, that's a type of player that anybody in Winnipeg or Manitoba should be extremely excited to have.
From your perspective, like obviously you're training all summer, you're getting ready for the season, but do you look at the Jets roster? Do you look at like maybe there's uncertainty in that, or there's an opportunity, I should use that word because that seems to be the best one to use. There's an opportunity for a player to take that next step, to take that role because of a couple of factors. Obviously the Jets haven't signed a ton of players, which isn't, news. And they also have a new coaching staff. So that kind of those two things combined, do you see that as an opportunity for your player like yourself, not necessarily needing a clean slate because you've improved every single year and you're leading goal scorer, almost leading points guy till Mikey Esimont had that hat trick against Abbotsford. He kind of stole the wind out of your thunder, out of your sails. But do you see that as an opportunity, or do you just try and focus on what you can control, which is how you're training to get ready for the summer?
Yeah, it's almost kind of the same approach. Like in the past couple of years, I've looked at training camp as just an opportunity in general. And I mean, last year at training camp, I learned a lot. I got a lot of great exposure playing in those couple preseason games. And, I think even in that short, 2 weeks, I think I developed a lot and learned a new respect for the pace of the NHL. And I think I've just been kind of focusing on that in similar ways this summer where, I'm just trying to get ready to show up to camp in as best shape as possible, and as sharp as possible. And I think, every year I think there's a great opportunity, to be had at camp, and I'm just kind of excited to get in there and, start playing some good hockey. And, if that leads to me having a spot with the Jets, then that's great. And development just kind of continues. And if that leads to me being back with the Moose, it's kind of the same thing. Just continue to develop and try and get better every day because, an opportunity could pop up at any point in the season, and like it has the last couple of years. So,
well, and does it make it a little bit easier knowing a lot of the guys and they're having that familiarity with the group? So if you need to go up, we don't necessarily see it, but when you guys are all here, there's obviously a lot of connectivity, right? Whether it's with the Moose or the younger players, I would imagine on the Jets. So does that make it easier, especially since you're all in the same city, that you can, these guys, Cole Perfetti, all, like a variety of guys who are all going to either be with the Jets or be with the Moose, but you all know each other. So it makes it a little bit easier to go into these training camps and be like, you're not a new guy, you're not a new face, and there's not a lack of familiarity with either some of the coaches. Obviously this year it'll be a little different for the Jets, but the coaches or the players.
Yeah, that's a big help. Part of the adjustment is just getting settled in a locker room, and when you have guys that you've spent the last 2 years with, and guys that are so welcoming, like the guys that I have spent the last 2 years with, it makes it a lot easier, and kind of that adjustment period is a little shorter, and you can kind of settle in and find your game a little quicker. But yeah, I think that's a big help and something that makes that adjustment just a little bit easier.
Jeff, it's not just hockey players who are looking for that opportunity, that next opportunity to make it to the NHL. Sometimes it's assistant coaches. And you had a assistant coach in Manitoba with Marty Johnston, who's getting the jump up to the NHL level, signing a deal with the Winnipeg Jets. So, what can you say? We had Marty on our show a few weeks back, but what can you say about Marty to folks who maybe aren't as familiar with him as to what kind of coach he is and what he brings to an organization?
Yeah, I mean, Marty's work ethic is crazy, and his investment in players is crazy. Like I always felt there was a genuine investment in me as a player, and Marty was regularly going out of his way to make sure that we were, seizing every opportunity to get better. And he's a guy that his attention to detail is he puts such an effort into his attention to detail, and he really cares about making sure that there's adequate video for everybody, making sure that guys have the opportunity to either go on early or stay on late. And he's somebody that's been played a major role in my development, and somebody who definitely deserves this opportunity.
All right, Jeff. Well, we're in what they call the dog days of summer. So what's up for you for the rest of the summer, and when are you going to be back in Winnipeg?
I'm thinking come back to Winnipeg early September, have a couple weeks to get settled, get some workouts and some skates in with some of the guys, and catch up with everyone before camp. And then, these last couple of weeks, it's probably just going to be hanging out with family, like enjoying the last month of Ontario weather. Probably go up to the cottage a couple times, and really ramp things up in the gym and on the ice, and just enjoy this last month of the off season. And then obviously I'm pretty excited to get back and get things rolling with camp. So it'll be won't be a hard transition, I don't think, but one that I'm excited for.
Well, you're missing it's about 30 degrees here in Winnipeg. So we do. That's one of the things that unfortunately sometimes you guys miss when you're only here during the winter, is that you do miss. Right. We do have phenomenal summers here in the Manitoba. Yeah. So, but again, I know where you are in Ontario. You're having a good one as well. Anyways, Jeff, we appreciate you spending the time here and providing our listeners and our viewers an opportunity to hear from you. And congratulations again on signing your new 2-year deal. And we'll talk to you when you get back to Manitoba.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thanks, Dave. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. You too.